Hello, good evening. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Amanda Candelaria, and I am going to be quickly walking you through the process of the home buying and selling of real estate. I'd like to ask a few questions. My first question to you is, do you currently rent and are paying just an extreme amount of money for an apartment? Second question is, are you tired of having somebody always looking over your shoulder and telling you what you can or cannot do in your house? Now, if you answered yes to either of those questions, you've come to the right place. I'm a licensed real estate agent. I've been practicing for a few years now. And I can help guide you through that process of what it takes to become a homeowner. Many people do try to do this process by themselves, and I have seen some successful transactions been done that way. However, I pulled an article from the National Association of Realtors, and this article said, for sale by owners accounted for 8% of home sales in 2018. Only 8%. Now, in comparison, one person had a house that they tried to sell for $217,900. When an agent went in and sold it for them, this house went for $295,000. That is almost a $70,000 difference. That is huge. So my next question is, why wouldn't you want to use a realtor? Many people say, well, you're too expensive. So that goes into the next thing is, if you're buying a house, you don't pay me anything. The seller actually pays for the commission. So if you're selling a house, you are responsible to pay that commission. However, if you're buying a house, you don't pay me anything. We also have a knowledge of the market, which is very valuable. We can make sure that what you're paying for the house is a good price. We represent you to the best of our ability. We have your best interest in mind and nobody else's. We're going to represent you and nobody else. We deal with the paperwork so you don't have to, and the negotiation factor. We know how to expertly negotiate this so you get the best deal. We always have your backs. So going forward, what the first process you would need to do is excuse me, I'd get you in contact with the mortgage lender. What this mortgage lender is going to do is check your credit and your job history is two of the main things. This credit is going to determine what kind of loan you get approved for and how much. After you get approved through the mortgage lender, what he's going to then send me is a pre-qualification letter. This pre-qualification letter is then going to tell me how much you're approved for and how much we can get you qualified for to go look at houses. Then we start to go look at houses, which is the fun part, and this is where it gets exciting. We find a house that you absolutely love. We then put what we call an offer on it. This offer is going to be presented to the seller, and it's going to have our terms on it. Our terms, and that's when they accept it. After acceptance, what we start going through is called inspections, and these inspections are going to ensure that this house is in good condition for you, and if there is anything that the seller needs to fix, that we negotiate that inside of the contract before it gets sold. Now, when everything's said and done, we can get you into a house in less than 45 days. Sometimes it could take up to 45 days depending on what kind of loan you get, and again, that is the mortgage lender's department. I'd like to ensure that I don't do any of the financing. There's always two parties in this. That's the mortgage side and the realtor, and excuse me, they do everything for the finance side. There's always the two parties, so I like to make sure people are aware of that so that there's no questions or they know who to direct their questions to. Now, once we close, that is just the most exciting thing, right? You have your own house. Now, do's and don'ts of buying a house, or do's and don'ts of when you're in a contract. So once the two parties have signed the contract, there are a few very important elements that you need to be aware of that you should not do. When you're in contract, do not buy anything big. Do not buy a new vehicle. Some people I've seen buy furniture for their new house, and you cannot do that. Just make sure that the mortgage lender is going to be looking over your finances for the next 30 to 45 days to ensure that your job is stable, that your income doesn't change, and that you don't make any big purchases. That's a big thing that I see. Anything that you need um, needs to be after the closing. That's very, very, very important, and I can't tell you that enough. If you have questions about something, always contact your lender, because they can guide you through that. So, and let you know what you can or cannot do. There's also a few myths that I've heard through my career, especially on social media. I see a lot of stuff that is false. One of them being that you need 20% down for a house. The more money you have down is going to benefit you, especially now when you have a seller's market. It's more appealing to the seller. But do you need 20% down? No. Conventional loans, FHA loans, you can have 3%. FHA is 3.5% of the sales price. Conventional is 3%. And then VA, sometimes you don't have to have anything down. So again, depends what kind of loan you get. Next one is owning a home is more of a hassle than renting. Now, it's really not. Now, you are responsible for this house. You don't have a maintenance man. So keep in mind, you always need a savings in case something happens or breaks. Now, with these things being said, owning a home is very much worth it. It's very exciting. Your net worth goes up. There's a quote by Barsley Palmer in an article, and it says, key reason to invest in real estate is real estate values tend to increase over time, and with a good investment, you can turn a profit when it's time to sell. Rents always tend to rise over time, which can lead to cash flow. So, with that being said, home ownership is really great. The purchase of real estate typically only appreciates as time goes on. For an example, if you bought a house 2 years ago for $230,000, it could be valued at $250,000, just as an example. So imagine that in 2 years, what 20 years can do. So summarizing this, I just touched on a few components of the home buying process. If you have further questions, please contact me. I'd love to help you or your family not have to go through the process of doing it yourself. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.